Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you for the next album review. This time it's an album review, it's not an EP review. Because when I posted that LMA 3, I accidentally put in the title album review, but it's not an album, it was just a 3-track EP. But now to continue with the next album, Becky G and Encuentros. Um, Encuentros, I believe, is how you pronounce the album's name. Also means in English terms encounters. Um, so I'm gonna discuss what I listened to for the 16 tracks from this Encuentros album, and let you know my thoughts on this almost 50-minute record. So let's dive into this album review. Now this is the follow-up to Esquenas, or I believe that's the album. Esquemas was the one from 2022. So this is her fourth Spanish studio album that I've listened to, and it starts with Nubes, Exlas Nubes, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm trying to pronounce it in the best way I can, so that way you understand how I'm trying to enunciate it. So, it's a good track for how Becky G is singing in Spanish, and it sounds very well done. And the melody and overall, it did pretty well. So 4.5 out of 5. Then you get Visto Caro. Good track. The feature artist kind of, I don't know. With this one, the feature artist kind of was hit or miss with this one, but I didn't hate how the song sounded, so I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Desert. Excuse me, honey. Deserto, I believe is how you pronounce it. Deserto. I'm trying to pronounce it in the best way possible, and it's coming out all fucked up. So, I think it's a good track, the Desierto. I believe is how you pronounce it. So, 4.5 out of 5 for this one. Como Diablos. Um, is a good track for how it sounds overall. Becky G's Spanish singing and her vocals sound pretty strong in this one, so I really do dig this one, and it's a 4.5 out of 5. Then comes Crisis featuring Tito Double P. Not one of my favorites, but it's above average at best. I mean, the feature artist Tito Double P didn't sound that good with his singing. It just didn't land very well with the execution with his vocals. But overall, Becky G was the highlight for this song, so I'd give it a 4.25 out of 5. Bandito, which is also in English term bandit, is what the song's called, is a good track for how Becky G is singing the track for overall, and I'd give this a 4.5 out of 5. I did enjoy this one. It's a good track for how it sounds. So, really like her vocals in this one. It really shined. Mercedes featuring Oscar Maiden. Good track for how it sounds. I wasn't sure if I was going to get on board with his vocals, but I think it was strong in its own way. And it did shine in some areas in the track, with Becky G singing and Oscar Maiden's singing overall. So 4.5 out of 5. The next one is Besendote, I believe is how you pronounce it, featuring Oscar Ortiz, which is a pretty good track for how it sounds. Sorry about pausing for a second. I was just trying to make sure I enunciated what I was trying to say right for the song name and all that. So I think it's a pretty good song for how it's structurally sounding, and Oscar Ortiz's vocals were pretty strong, along with Becky G singing along with him, did pretty well. The harmonizing was pretty good in this one. So 4.75 out of 5. Muchas Gracias is a good song for how it is. I didn't hate how it sounded. Pretty mellow and nice instrumentation in this track, so do dig it for how it sounds. So 4.5 out of 5. Ochala, Ochala, I believe is how you pronounce it. Ojala, Ojala. I'm trying to pronounce it in the best way possible. It's just really bugging me that I keep enunciating it wrong. But still, 4.5 out of 5 for this track. Becky G's vocals sound pretty strong in it. And just overall, there were a few hit or miss moments during this track, but it still sounded good with her vocals, and she shined pretty well in this one. Toto featuring Delilah is a good track, and the feature artist Delilah sounded pretty good in this track overall, and I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 for this track. Ultima Vez is a good track too in its own way. I did dig how it was sounding overall, and execution-wise, Becky G's vocals shined pretty well in this one. So 4.5 out of 5. Gomez times 4 is a above average track. I mean, some of the way Becky G was singing it from time to time was hit or miss, but there were some moments where it did shine. So I'd give it a 4.25 out of 5. Otro Capitulo, I believe is how you pronounce it. Good song in its own way. I do dig how Becky G is singing this track. And execution-wise, it performed very well with the instrumentation and all that. So this is a 4.5 out of 5. And then we get to Mucho, 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 which is like an interlude track going into the closing track, which is above average. It's just Becky G kind of got a little annoying in this track with her talking and all that from time to time. But execution-wise, this track performed alright for the interlude track, so 4.25 out of 5. Por el Contrario, the demo version, this was a song from the SK Nas album. The last album she made before making Encuentros. So, pretty much, I think it's going to get a 4.5 out of 5 for this demo version. It sounded really good. They were singing in it. So, do dig this song for how it is. Overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I think Becky G and Encuentros, her new album, Encounters is the English term for it. The English meaning behind Encuentros and what it means. I think it's an average record at best, to be quite honest. I think I said it was a good album, but no, it's kind of gonna get the same rating as the last ones did. So, I think there were some execution flaws with this record, with a couple tracks, Gomez times 4, Mucho, 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 which is only an interlude track, so I don't necessarily have to count it, but it still performed iffy. And Crisis featuring Tito Double P was an iffy song too. It was one of the weakest, the least favorites, but it wasn't terrible in any way. So if I were to give Becky G's Encuentros album a score, I think everything else was fine for the record and pretty strong and pretty good in its own way. Just, it depends on the vibe you're in for this record. If you want to listen to Spanish singing music and all that, and this is the album for you. So, Encuentros, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Average record, not one of my favorites this year, but it is going to be on the decent to good albums of 2024 list. So definitely expect it on that list. So pretty much 7.5 out of 10 for Becky G and Encuentros, her new album that came out last month on October 10th. believe is when it came out. I hope you enjoyed this album review tonight, and thank you guys for watching. It is going to be premiering on November 20th, this album review, and I'll probably get the Tyler, the Creator album review done before this one comes out. But overall, I hope you enjoyed the review, and thanks for watching.